Going back to apps, I'll show you guys the email client. This is the one that I downloaded, so this is the one that comes with the device. And so here it is. It's very, simple and straightforward. You don't have a whole lot of options. For example, you can't select multiple emails. There's no threaded view in terms of, opening it sort of like in Windows Phone 7. You have threaded emails. There's not a whole lot of options in terms of viewing them, but it works and it gets the job done. And it's an email client to use on a tablet. I think it's good enough. But we'll take a look at an email here. Take a look at this one. You can see shows the text. If there were any pictures, you'd have the option to download those pictures. And again, it's very simple. You have options to skip to the next email or the one before that. Here we have some options for going back, trashing or deleting this email, creating a new email, or responding to this email. And then this is the menu. I've skipped over this, sort of bar at the bottom throughout the whole review, actually, but I'll show you guys now. So this bar at the bottom is present throughout the entire UI, and it'll change. The options will change, but you'll always have the option for menu, which will, these options will change depending on which app you're actually in. But you'll always have the menu, and you'll always have back, which will take you back an option, and then you have home. So that's, again, another little part of the UI, just to show you guys. But then that's the email client. Again, it's very straightforward and simple. Let me show you guys the keyboard. I'll go over to Seismic here, and I'll just go to Compose. So this is the keyboard. It's a custom keyboard that's been designed by Amazon, so it's not like any keyboard that you'll see on any other Android device. You can use it in portrait mode as well as landscape mode. I can rotate it here. And landscape mode is probably a little bit too wide for most people to type on. I don't know, on a 7-inch display, you can see I can barely reach my thumbs across, and I have small hands. So if you have larger hands, then it might be okay, but for most people, you're probably going to use it in portrait mode. And it's a pretty decent keyboard. Keep in mind this isn't a productivity device, so you're really not going to be using the keyboard for very much, except for sending a tweet or searching for something. So it's not too important in terms of performance, but honestly, it's a pretty good keyboard. So if I type out, hey guys, I'm filming the Kindle Fire review. Review. So you can see it actually got everything perfectly, even though I didn't type that out right. The autocorrect worked really well. So, after testing out the keyboard and doing, basic tasks, obviously, like I said, I'm not typing documents using this tablet, but, with me just sending tweets or searching for things on the internet, I've been very impressed with the keyboard. I haven't had very many problems with it. The device is light enough to where you can use it with two hands, get a good grip on it. It's not too heavy, and you can easily type. Going back to apps, if we take a look at the gallery, now again, it doesn't have a camera, but like I showed you, can easily transfer files like pictures, using the USB cable. And like I showed you, it's a very simple method. Here's the gallery. This looks very much like the Android gallery that you'll see on other tablets and phones. So there's little, hints of Android here and there, but for the most part, visually, it's like you can't really tell it's Android. So you can see we can kind of swipe through. If we had more pictures, it would be sort of like a nice little carousel, and we can select a picture, swipe through. We do have the option, if we go down here, we do have the option to share a picture. So we can share it using any apps that we've downloaded or that come with the device. So I've downloaded Seismic. I could share this picture using Seismic. Scroll over, pinch in. You can see, does pretty good. The gallery app, again, this is part of the tablet that actually is like every other Android device, but it works well. That's the gallery. As a note about apps, if we go to the settings and go down to device, you can see that you do have the option to install apps from unknown sources, which means if you have another Android device and you've downloaded apps from the Android market, you can install them onto the Kindle Fire. So you don't have to use Amazon's App Store if you don't want to, or like I said, if you have other apps that are downloaded from other sources. All you have to do is turn this on and then use a USB cable to transfer those files. Lastly, we'll take a look at the web. and we're going to load up PhoneDoc.com. Now, this device is Wi-Fi only. There's no 3G model, so if you want to do anything like download books or apps or obviously web browsing, you're going to need a Wi-Fi connection. Also, there's no GPS, so you can't use it for things like maps, different things like that. So keep that in mind. Amazon's made a pretty big deal about their web browser. They're calling it the Silk web browser. And basically it splits the work between their cloud servers and then the device itself. So because of that, the web browser is supposed to load pages faster. It's supposed to do some things in the background that will just help your web browsing experience to be a lot more smooth. Personally, I haven't noticed any difference between this and any other tablet or any smartphone. In fact, in some cases it's actually slower. You can see right now scrolling is very smooth, but this is not the kind of experience that I get all the time. There's several times when this is choppy. You can see zooming in is fairly smooth. It's not, there's a little bit of lag. There's a few problems there, but I mean, for the most part, it's fine and performance is okay. And a lot of other reviewers and bloggers have said the same thing. The web browser is fine. It's a great web browser for a tablet. It'll get you through your web browsing experience, but it's just not quite as, awe-inspiring as Amazon made it out to be. And you also have tabbed web browsing, so that's nice. All you do is select the plus, it'll open a new tab. Here you have some of your bookmarks. So let's move on to overall performance of the device and just general usability of the UI itself. First of all, usability. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. You have your settings up here, much like other Android devices, and then you can go to more settings. And you'll see here is kind of where you get into where it actually looks like an Android device, which only like maybe, I don't know, hardcore Android users would notice that. But anyway, and then if I had any notifications, a little 1 or a 2 or however many notifications I had, the number would pop up right here, and then I could select that and it would open up a tab much like this, and it would show if I had new emails, new tweets on Seismic if I have that set up. Very simple and easy to use. Now, one gripe that I do have about, like I showed you, this little bar down here, is that it's not always responsive, and I'm not sure why. I'm not going to blame it on the display itself not being responsive. I think it's just the tablet. Sometimes I select back and I have to press it 2 or 3 times before it actually responds, or I'll select home and I have to press it 2 or 3 times before it responds. Not every time, but it's just things like that where it kind of like it catches and it hangs. The tablet is powered by a 1 gigahertz dual-core TI-OMAP processor, which is a pretty impressive processor, but sometimes the performance isn't exactly what you'd expect from that kind of a processor. We'll open up ESPN Score Center. This is an app that I've downloaded. Just so you can get a look at the apps and what they look like on the tablet, and then we'll obviously talk about performance here. So let's say I have the lead here and I want to scroll over to my next topic. You can see it was a little bit choppy, and then again, sometimes right here it stutters and it hangs. I want to go back up, and then that just disappeared. So you can see it's not terrible, but there just are some times when it's not quite as smooth as what, and even in using this app, sometimes it would get frozen like right here. It got frozen right here, and then I'm like scrolling over and it's not doing anything. So you can see it's some of the apps, it kind of is a little bit sluggish. We'll go over to Pulse. You can take a look at another app and what it looks like on the tablet. This is pretty smooth. You can see scrolling is not too bad. Maybe it takes a little while to load the pictures, but that's just based on your Wi-Fi connection. But overall performance of the device is good and great, and nothing to complain about based on the fact that it was only $200. But there are some times in web browsing or in using certain apps where I pinch in or I scroll over and it's just unresponsive, or like I said, I push the back button, and it takes a couple of tries before it actually responds. Just little things like that. And obviously right now it's working perfectly, of course, as I always do in reviews. But so that goes to show that it's not always a problem. It's not something that's going to happen every single time, but it is something that I noticed while using the device personally. Just a note on processor performance. If you guys want to know some numbers, this is a benchmark app that is actually in the Amazon app market. So we'll run a benchmark, see if we can get some numbers. And you can see the results here are 31.8 inflops, took about 2.64 seconds. So it's not great, it's not excellent, but it's a decent tablet, and performance was decent. So lastly, we'll talk about battery. Now, Amazon says you should get up to 8 hours of continuous reading or 7.5 hours of video playback with wireless off. Now, speaking of wireless, being on or off, when the device goes to sleep, when the screen shuts off, the Wi-Fi turns off. So, I have email and Seismic. These two things will sync in the background, but obviously if Wi-Fi is off, which is what happens when the screen turns off, it's not going to do that. So keep that in mind. Email, other things that are syncing in the background, those won't be able to do anything when the display turns off, because it automatically turns off Wi-Fi as well. But anyway, so on battery, battery life was pretty good. I had a full charge, and then it lasted a little over a day and a half with some pretty heavy use. I watched a movie, I read some of this book that I downloaded wherever it went. I read some of the book, I was using Twitter, I was checking my email, and I had some things running in the background while the device was on, like Twitter. I was streaming music, but then again, while it's off, it isn't doing those things in the background. But with pretty heavy use, I watched an entire movie and I was using it, here and there. It lasted about a day and a half. So, that's not quite what you'll get out of other tablets on the market, but consider it's a small device, so the battery itself is also going to be a bit smaller than larger tablets. But to me, as long as I can get through a day with any device, be it a tablet or a smartphone, I'm satisfied. But if you're traveling a lot and you need this for intense, heavy use, keep that in mind. For me, it was a day and a half. And also remember that battery life is going to vary depending on usage habits. Those are just my test results. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's the Amazon Kindle Fire. The bottom line, is it worth $200? Yes. Keep in mind, what is it for? It's for these things up here: newspapers, books, music, videos, docs, apps, and web browsing. That's what it's for. It's not a productivity device. You can't use this for maps and getting directions, or the email client is pretty basic. But for entertainment and things to take up time, or maybe read some books, it's perfect for that, and it gets the job done. And overall, I'm satisfied with it. If it were more than $200, I probably wouldn't be, but because of that cheap price or that inexpensive price, I'm definitely satisfied with it. So check it out, guys, and see if it fits into your needs. You may need a more powerful device. But that's it from me. Thanks, guys, for watching this review. We have plenty of content on the Kindle Fire on PhoneDoc.com, which has been redesigned. So check out the website. Tell us what you think of the redesign. But thanks for watching this review. I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. My screen name is PhoneDog_Sydney. I'll see you guys later. Bye.